portion. Okay, alrighty, and what we do the first meeting of the month is sometimes we meet at 5:30 if we have something special going on that we want to recognize. And this month is Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. So we have a proclamation to read in honor of that. And I have asked Councilmember Hinton to read that for us tonight. So if you would like to go ahead and read that into the record for us.
I will do that. So this is a proclamation recognizing Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929, and dedicated his life to promoting peace, freedom, equality, and justice for all through nonviolent means. And the federal and state legislation has recognized the legacy of Reverend Dr. King as one of America's outstanding civil rights leaders by designating the third Monday of January as a federal holiday. And on August 28, 1963, the Reverend Dr. King delivered a historic speech at the Lincoln Memorial, which called for an end to racism in the United States, saying, quote, "Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you today, my friends." And so, even though we face difficulties today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, close quote. And the Reverend Dr. King also said in his speech, and this will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. And the campaign for a federal holiday in honor of Reverend Dr. King began soon after his assassination in 1968. And President Ronald Reagan signed the holiday into law in 1983. Subsequently, first observed 3 years later, and every year events are held across multiple days in the Pikes Peak region to commemorate the legacy of Reverend Dr. King. And the city proudly recognizes the determination and achievement of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, therefore, the city of Fountain, Colorado recognizes that henceforth, the third Monday of January each year as Martin Luther King Day, and honor all the accomplishment and sacrifice of those fighting for equality. This day, 11th day of January, 2022.
Thank you very much. And since this is a pre-meeting, it's just in the record, and we don't vote on that. And we did vote last year to recognize that annually. So thank you very much for taking your time and reading that tonight. And I think it's especially appropriate that we have some young ladies here tonight that are here to in honor of the city council and the great things that we do as a city. Not necessarily us up here, but we have great people doing that. And I'm going to go ahead and recognize them ahead of time since we have a little bit of time. This is troop number 44262. They're junior Girl Scouts, cadet Girl Scouts, and some daisies. So congratulations, Troop Leader Sam. You have a wide range of ages you're working there with. And thank you for doing that and all of the parents that are involved in that today. If you guys would like to come up and introduce yourselves tonight, we got a few extra minutes so we can do that. So just don't, if you don't want to come up, that's okay too. But if you'd like to come up and say why you decided to come to the meeting tonight, or if you're working on a badge or anything, we got a few minutes here. And then I believe that our city manager has something for you guys. Okay.
And you can.
What did I say? I'm Phoebe and I'm working for a badge. A question? I don't have one.
They asked me a bunch of good questions for the record. I got good questions.
Are they covered?
They're covered. They asked me questions.
Come on. Do I have to pick you up?
So it just stop.
Come on.
This is Bella. She's one of our brownies. The brownies are working on democracy and celebrating community as well.
Do you have a question?
My name is Sophie. I'm a brownie and I'm working on a bag, but I can't remember what the bag is called.
Very good.
No one has questions? Can I ask a question? Who all works here?
What was your question?
Who all works here?
Who all works here?
Yeah, like everyone's job.
Oh, okay, well, this is Mr. Trainer, our city manager, and he keeps the city going day to day and tells everybody what to do, huh? Make sure they're doing their job right and checks up on them. You get called into Mr. Scott's office, you know? It's not too good to get called into Mr. Scott's office, right? Either that or it's a great thing, right? It's a great thing. Yeah. And I tell you, one of the funnest things they do around here is at Christmas time, they have a door decorating contest, and so everybody gets to decorate their office door, and you really see the creativity come out, and you really see the Grinches if they don't do it too, huh? But anyways, they have some really creative people around here. Next to him is Mr. Todd Evans, and Todd is what we call our deputy city manager, so if Mr. Trainer's not here, then he takes over and represents us. And he also works for our planning department, so if somebody wants to build a road or a house around here, it has to go through his department to make sure it's done the right way. And then I think you guys know what Chief Heber does, right? Yeah.
Pretty obvious.
Yeah, and then Paul over here works for our IT department, and it's wonderful because when we drop our phones or our iPads update and we can't figure out how to get back in them, or we lose our password or any of that kind of stuff, he rescues all of us all the time. And plus, he also does a lot of stuff. You guys get crazy emails where they like want to send you money from, you know, some foreign country or something. He keeps all that kind of junk out of our system so it works right. So anyways, and then the lady at the table, Miss Karen, doesn't work for the city, but she works for the Fountain Valley News. So if you get the Fountain Valley News, you might see her taking pictures. Oh, everybody's waving at the newspaper. Bunch of media hams over there. All right. And then Miss Sylvia over here is what we call our city clerk, and she keeps all our records, and she tries to keep us out of trouble. And she also runs our parks department. So how many of you have ever been to a park in Fountain, like maybe the Splash Pad or Metcalf Park or any of those kind of parks for the day? So Miss Sylvia is the person that takes care of our parks and gets all the cool stuff fixed up in them. And so she was responsible, her and her team, for getting the pump track at Metcalf Park to ride your bikes on. And up at Fountain Mesa Park, which up in the north end of town, we have a brand new what do you call it?
What's a skate park? Just all concrete.
It's an all concrete skate park, but it's got a big bowl, right?
Yes.
It's got a big bowl. It's in a below ground. So, yeah. And so I think that's the only people here. Mm-hmm.
Madam Mayor, one of the outstanding young ladies asked me, where do all our ticket revenue, where does that go, and what does that do for the city?
Ooh, good
So
question.
I told them it goes into our general fund, it goes to support things like our parks department, our explorer programs, we try and use that money to make it. So I know it's a very big question.
That is a good question. Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, well, we have, oh, there's a hand back there?
Yeah.
All right. Hi, what's your name?
Charlie,
Hi, Charlie, what's your question?
my question is, what is it like being in the office?
In the office of mayor,
Mm-hmm.
it's really cool. It's really cool, and it's really fun to do because I get to meet a lot of amazing people and represent our city, and so hopefully bring some good stuff back to our city for projects and grant funding money. But it's really just amazing to get out and talk to the people in the city of Fountain and find out what is important to them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really fun. Anybody else want to answer that question too? What's it like to be on council?
Well, I'm the new guy here on council, and so I'm just kind of getting my feet wet. But it's great to be able to serve our community and give back. It's always been something of a passion of mine, so I love doing it and love hearing some of the issues that fountain may have, and being part of this the solution. And so it's a great thing.
Anybody else? Your little green light on? Oh, it's on the other side for some reason. It's not on. I can't see the green light, so. There you go. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I'm glad that you are here, and I am Councilwoman Deetra Duncan, and we have Fountain Youth Council. And I don't know if you've heard of it, but it has been flashing on our screen in front of the fire stations. And we started age 13. And I'm glad you asked about what do we do here, because that's what our Fountain Youth Council, that's what we learn. We learn what our mayor does. We learn what our city manager does. You get to meet the city manager. You get to go and have lunch with the police chief. You know, great things that we do in our Fountain Youth Council. So if you're age 13 or know someone age 13 or above, please let them know that we have a youth council here, and we would love to have you here. Even if you would just like to come, maybe it's part of you getting your badge, to coming in one day and see what we do. We have our own officers. They get to sit up here on the bench. So even if you'd like to come in and join us and sit in one of these seats, we can make that happen, okay? Thank you for being here.
Okay. All right, Scott has some special coins for you. This is what we call a city coin.
Yep.
And this is given out to people that come to our city for a variety of reasons, but basically because they're really our special guests because they came to visit us. So we wanted to give each one of you a coin tonight that you can have, and you can keep with you forever as a memento of coming here tonight, and know that each and every one of you are really special, and we're really proud of you, and we're really, really thankful that you came by. So Scott, if you want to.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to share just real briefly on the back, and I'm going to bring them over to you. But on the front of the coin, you have the city logo between the flag of the United States and the flag of Colorado. And on the back, you have a little image that's a combination of City Hall, a horse, which represents the agricultural part of our community, a soldier, which represents Fort Carson and the military in our community, and then finally a train, which represents a major historic thing that happened in our community in the 1800s, which is the blast when a train blew up down here. If you want to know more about that, ask me later. But I've got some coins for you, and I'll bring those over to you. Not as cool as patches, of course.
Councilman Bert Estes, since we have a minute, do you want to tell the kids about how they could visit the free museum and learn more about the blast?
Sure. The Fountain Valley Historical Society has a museum. It's right down the street, still on Main Street. Was it 114 North Main? And we're open on Saturday mornings from 10 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. Or you can give me a call and I can open it up for private tours. And you want to talk about the train blast, we can tell you about that. We can tell you about our murder board. We can tell you about one of the first women mayors in the state of Colorado that was the mayor of Fountain. So it's free. That's the big thing. It's free.
Have a big group of kids, you're always looking for free things. That's right. Okay, so we are going to take a quick break till 6 o'clock when the actual council meeting begins. And so you're free to hang around because you're going to do a flag salute for us, right? So we'll take a quick break, and if you want to ask any more questions, people are around. Otherwise, we'll be back at 6 o'clock. And thank you again for coming tonight. Thank you very much. All right, thank you. All right, it is 6 p.m. We're calling the meeting to order tonight. We're going to begin our meeting here with our Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to have Girl Scout Troop 44262 come up and lead our Pledge of Allegiance for us. So if you could come up, please, and start us on the pledge. Just from right there, Scott. Go ahead and start saying it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Good job. Thank you. Thank you. I think I put this back. I don't need that during the meeting. Okay. All righty. And that takes us to the roll call.
Mayor Thompson,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Estes,
Here.
Councilmember Rick,
Here.
Councilmember Corey,
Here.
Councilmember Hinton,
Here.
Councilmember Applegate,
Here.
Councilmember Duncan,
Here.
all 7 members present.
Okay, so just for anyone in attendance, Councilmember Rick is online tonight. Since this is a hybrid meeting, it was the choice if they wanted to attend online or in person. We also have people online also and in the audience. Tamara Estes, Councilmember Estes asked for a moment of silence, so if you would please do that.
I'm asking for a moment of silence for our previous electrical superintendent that passed away December 28th, Mr. Dick Hikus. He was a longtime resident of Fountain. His parents owned the Fountain Motel. He graduated from Fountain Schools and then worked for the city of Fountain for many, many years. And he passed away right after Christmas, so I'd ask for a moment of silence for him.
Okay, thank you very much. So we did have a proclamation at 5:30 tonight, read by Councilmember Member Hinton in honor of Martin Luther King Day. And we also wanted to recognize a proclamation that we did last year in perpetuity, recognizing January 9th as National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day through the city of Fountain. We know that day has come and gone, but we just wanted to take a minute and say thank you to all our officers. If anyone is so inclined this week to drop a thank you note by, or just a note of appreciation, or a thumbs up, or a 5-fingered wave, okay, to our officers, they would really appreciate that as they go about what they're doing. Thank you very much. When a recognition is in perpetuity, it doesn't mean we'll be necessarily reading it every year, but we do want to take time and honor that day. We have no presentations. We have no board and committee recognitions. Do we have any city council agenda requests? We will do Mr. Rick online last. So we'll start with Councilmember Duncan down there. Do you have any requests for future meetings?
I don't.
Councilmember Applegate?
Nothing tonight.
Mayor Pro Tem Estes?
Nothing.
Councilmember Hinton?
Nothing.
Councilmember Corey?
Nothing at this time.
Okay, and Councilmember Rick?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. I do have a request. Request at a future meeting, we have staff present on what we're doing with our rec center going forward. At one time, city appointed a community rec center advisory committee. When COVID came along, that was stopped, and then D3 withdrew from the group. Then we came up with a circuit plan that developers were going to help us put together some sort of recreation plan. But now with the water shortages, not all of the developments are going to be going forward. I think we need to determine where we go from here, and I'd like to get some public input. So if we could wait until we can have the public fully attend a meeting, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Scott will get with that and figure out to get that update in a future agenda. All right, that sounds great. All righty. We will be using one meeting a month. I believe it's the second meeting of the month to get a staff update from various departments. I know the one is already set for the next meeting, so maybe that would be a good one for February or March, if whatever you're comfortable with.
Sure.
Okay. All right, thank you. All righty. All right, anything else for council requests? I don't have any either. All right. So we are to the part at public to be heard. We do have a few people here in the audience. Since this is my first meeting trying to use this GoToWebinar system, everybody be a little patient with me. I'm going to go ahead and take anybody in the audience first that would like to make any comments for things that are not on the agenda, which is pretty much just about anything today, huh? And then I will go to people online. If I believe they have to raise their hand, Paul, online, and you'll help me recognize them?
Yes, Madam Mayor. We do have two from the web that have questions this evening.
Okay, all righty. So does anyone who's in the audience have any questions for tonight? Okay, come on up to the microphone, please, and state your name. Citizens may address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Council may not be able to provide an immediate answer, but we will direct staff to follow up. Out of respect for the council and others in attendance, please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. And, yeah, you can remove your mask when you're talking.
Cool.
Yes. Okay.
My name's Eric. I've lived here, I don't know, 30 years or
And
so.
your last name, Eric?
Oliver.
Okay.
Live on Fountain Mesa. My wife and I like and enjoy walking our dogs in the Adams open space area behind the library there. About a month and a half ago, I noticed a homeless guy down there, so I called code enforcement. Nothing really got done. Beginning of December, I called the police department. He's still living down there. He has a tent, several tents, a whole bunch of stuff down there. About a week later, I went down there again, walking with my wife. He's still down there. I confronted him. I'm like, hey, what's the deal? What are you doing down here? He's like, I live down here. And then he said some Karen called the police, which was me, telling him to move, but clearly he had not. As of about a week ago, well, as of yesterday, he's still down there, still camping down there, still living behind the library. My wife's not comfortable walking the dog down there anymore because, there's a guy walking around with a cape, screaming profanities in the middle of the woods with nobody. So, I've contacted code enforcement once, the police department twice. Nothing's happened. I'd really like something to happen because I'm pretty sure we have a camping ordinance.
Okay, which staff who'd like to take that?
Yes, we'll definitely follow up on that. I go down there quite often myself, so I haven't seen him, thank goodness.
Walk down the trail 100 yards, turn left, follow the fence line.
From the library?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Great, thank
There's
you.
one there, then there's a guy right before you get to the bridge. There's a path built out that way. I don't know how far that one
It goes
goes.
to the one that goes to the left?
If you walk out down behind the library, follow the trail, the first guy living in the tent lives on the left side, right by the fence line, hidden in some trees. If you start again from the top of the hill, going down behind the library, follow that one until you get to the bridge.
Yeah.
Right before there's the bridge, there's a trail that goes off into the right, into the woods.
Oh, okay.
And that's where the homeless superhero guy is screaming profanities.
Yeah, all right, we'll follow up on
Okay,
that.
I just want to make sure I understand. At first, I thought you meant there was one person, so you're saying there's two?
I've seen two so far, yes.
Okay, two. Okay, all right. So Chief Heber, you guys will follow up on that?
Yeah, Eric, as the city manager said, both of us actually spend a lot of time behind that area riding our bikes, so I'm familiar with it. I understand your concern. If you'll please email me, sir, I'll tell you what we're doing about it.
Yeah, thanks.
I think there was a fire down there.
There was?
About 2 weeks ago, and that probably was associated with that. I was actually on scene that day, so.
There was.
We'll take care of it.
I called on that as well.
Great,
so.
thank you, sir.
All right, can I leave?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
Have a nice
You don't
evening.
need permission.
Yes, thank you.
Eric, please.
All right, thank you for bringing it up.
Unmuted.
All right, anyone else in the audience has anything they'd like to bring up tonight? Yes, ma'am. All right, everyone awake now? We're just testing. All right.
When did you first
Can you state your
become-
name for the record?
Okay, Phoebe
Okay? And you can take your mask off to talk if you want.
Okay, when did you first become mayor?
I became mayor in the end of November.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, but I've been on the council for 8 years previous to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, anyone else in the audience? Okay. Paul, do we have some hands online?
Yes, we do. We have Mr. Ronald Arguello and Mr. Travis Semino.
Okay, and before we get the people online, I want to remind council, the only way people online or on YouTube can hear us is if you have your microphone on, so please be sure you have your mic on anytime you're speaking. And, okay, let's go with Mr. Arguello, because I know he sent a question in earlier asking, so he was kind of here first. Do I unmute him, or do you? All right, we'll get that going in just a second. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, Mr. Arguello. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Ron Arguello. I've met each of you at a couple of interviews. I wanted to reach out today. I don't know how much you are aware of the process or the situation that is going on. I hope that you would, as it is your employee, the position that you have for the presiding judge and not other staffs. But I received a conditional offer of employment on December 23rd, 2021, submitted to the background checks, the motor vehicle checks, and then I received a voicemail, a generic email on January 5th, 2022, indicating that I was disqualified after receiving the conditional offer of employment. I did leave a voicemail for the HR director on January 5th, another on January 6th after not hearing, and a voicemail with Troy Johnson on January 6th. Mr. Johnson was kind enough to get back to me on January 7th and discussed what actually was disqualifying on that point, and I haven't heard back since informing him of my concerns. What was relayed to me is that there was speculation that my judgment may not be sound based off of a driving history. I was never asked about any history in my application in the process. There was nowhere to disclose it, and I was never told of any disqualifying factors when applying or through the process. I've never hid anything. I even disclosed in the interviews that we did have that I did have multiple tickets when I was younger, quite a few, and I've learned and used that as part of my demeanor in court at these points in time and based my demeanor on those experiences. In the last 10 years, there's been a total of 3 traffic tickets that I have convictions for. And if you look at that compared to when I was 16 to 23, there were 13 at that point in time. As I said, I was told that the specific reason for disqualification was based on my driving history and speculation on whether or not I would have sound judgment. I wanted to make this make known and that the EEOC specifically prohibits disqualification based on arrest when it has a disparate impact. There is a Stanford study that shows that in 100 million traffic stops, Black drivers were 20% more likely to be cited or arrested, and Hispanics were likely to be 30% or more likely to be cited or arrested. I walked everyone through on these cases from difficult cases that I presided over in my year at Thornton as a judge, my thought process, my decision-making, what I came to on conclusions. I walked you all through that to show what my decision-making process was. And I encourage you to contact any defense attorney I've ever worked with, city attorneys, judges, Thornton court clerks, Thornton other judges to talk about my decision-making, and you won't find anyone that would ever have any concerns about my decision-making as it stands today and since I've gone to law school. Everything that I've been informed of has been based on speculation on a history from when I was young and dumb. I ask this city council to reconsider any potential revocation of the conditional job offer. I would love to serve the city of Fountain. I was tremendously excited to serve the city of Fountain and believe that my background, my interview, my responses, and my proven ability in Thornton, as well as with the city of Westminster and city of Arvada, far outweigh any speculative aspects of when I was younger driving and any driving infractions that there are in there. And consider that this is a violation of the EEOC guidance and rules to eliminate people based off of criminal and conviction records when there's not a business necessity for that. So that's my comments. I know I'm over the 3 minutes. I didn't want to take up more time, but I wanted to address the council as I don't know how much you know of this or how much you've considered this, and would ask for a reconsideration on this. Thank you so much.
Mr. Arguello, I appreciate you taking the time to call in. The council does not get involved in employee and personnel matters, so that is an issue that would be turned over to our city attorney, Troy.
Well, and Mr. Arguello, this is Troy Johnson. As we spoke on the phone, I think it's a lot more than just a few traffic infractions. The role of a municipal judge is to uphold the municipal code. And over the last 20 years, you've violated that municipal code in various jurisdictions over 20 times. And so it's hard, as I explained to you, to task a municipal judge that with enforcement of the law when clearly your record indicates that you don't take that very seriously, even if that was when you were younger. And that includes serious violations like reckless driving, which is an 8-point violation. The DMV only gives us 12 points. You've lost your license, I believe, 3 times. I don't have your record in front of me, including driving under the influence in 2008. And so I disagree with you about the state of the law, that certainly convictions are allowed to be used, especially in such a multitude that you have them. So if you'd like to file an EEOC claim, you're welcome to. I invited you to do that, and now the council is aware and informed, and our decision remains the same. So thank you for being here tonight, Mr. Arguello.
All right, thank you, Mr. Johnson. And we will go on to the next person who is online with their hand raised, Mr. Travis Chimino.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Hello.
Yes, you're on.
Hello. Oh, cool. Awesome. Hi guys. New year, new council, new mayor. That's wonderful to see you all again. I was just wondering if there has been any movement so far on, again, since this is a new council, on the proposal that I had for, reducing or eliminating the fees for personal business. I know I brought it up to Councilman Applegate. I brought it up to you, Sharon. I was just wondering if there's any movement on that, anything I can do to move it along.
Yeah, there hasn't been any discussion on any of that, and I'm sure, Todd, would you like to take that, maybe have a phone meeting with Mr. Chimino on discussing fees with the city and businesses and things like that? Okay. Okay. Do you have his contact information? Okay. Ooh. Do you have Mr. Evans' email address, tevans@fountaincolorado.org? And if you email him his contact info, he will get with you. Okay?
Wonderful. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. We do have a few more people online. I don't see any more hands raised. Looks like unless anybody has any other questions, we will move on. Anyone in the audience? Okay, we will move on from public to be heard to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be approved with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which case the item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately at the discretion of the council. Just to let everybody know ahead of time, in the past, when we have had hybrid meetings, the clerk has done all the votes orally. However, since most of us are in attendance tonight, we're going to go ahead and use the buttons, and then she will have Councilmember Rick get his vote afterwards orally. So Do I have a motion on the consent agenda tonight? Mayor Pro Tem Estes,
I move to approve the consent agenda.
and do we have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Applegate, second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote on the consent agenda.
Councilmember Rick, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
Okay, thank you. And seeing item number 8, old business, there is none. Item number 9, new business, there is none. So that means we can skip A, consideration of items removed from the consent agenda because we did not remove any. That leads us to item 10, correspondence, comments, and ex officio reports. We'll start with City Manager Trainer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have just a couple quick items. I would also ask if, excuse me, when we get to the end of the correspondence ex officio reports, if we could circle back to Todd and Troy. We want to give the council just a brief update on the de-annexation process. It won't be long, but if we could do that. But I have just a couple quick things I wanted to mention. We had our Business Impact Assistance Program meeting yesterday where we handed out, well, we haven't handed out anything yet, but where we reviewed 16 different applications for $166,000 of ARPA money for various businesses around the city. Had some good applications, so that was pretty successful. I want to say the council approved 240 or 250, I think 240,000 off the top of my head total for that program. So 166,000 was reviewed. And then just a reminder of the January 22nd retreat, and I'll be sending out a formal agenda to the council probably on Friday of this week, just to give you an overview of that. So have that, and then again, we'll Todd and Troy, if they could, they'll hit just a brief update on the de-annexation. Just want to keep you guys in the loop as we're going. Thank you.
Mr. Evans.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Just a couple of updates. We will have a Link Road closure coming up sometime in February, and that's probably going to be for about a month time frame. They've got some pretty major drainage infrastructure to put in related to the Aspen Ranch project. So that was scheduled for January, but now that's been pushed to February. So that will be coming. We'll keep everyone in the loop, but the same detour that we had when we were doing the Link project, the lower Link project, will be an impact. And we do have an agreement with the contractor that they will maintain that detour once a week, which we weren't real happy with Martin Marietta last time. So expect that coming in January. Also, we think we're in snow season right now. We're not sure because the snow we got last week, what usually happens in end of September, early October. So we're hopeful that we're going to see some more snow. No, we need it. I'll bring the snow. But just to let everyone know, this is just kind of to whet your appetites. Next week, your first department presentation is going to be from Bob McDonald. So he's going to be going over our snowplow process, if you've got any questions, as well as our asphalt analysis study that's been going on. But just to let everyone know, the general criteria and the general process of our, when we do have a snow and a snowplow, is keep in mind our number one priority is the major arterials. Number two is the collectors, and then a distant third is going to be the residential streets. So we have 7 different snowplow areas within the city. And as an example, out of our 8 folks, we had 4 available for our last snow event last week. Another one was on FIMLA, another one was out of town, and we have 2 that are still completing their CDL processes. So when you have 4 drivers, basically you have to rotate them in shifts so that you don't eat up all their time, because we have to follow federal CDL guidelines. So you won't often see all 4 of them out there at the same time. You'll see usually 2 at a time, and then we keep others in reserve in case it's a longer event. But they'll get out. The last event last week, it was combined with some very, very low temperatures. So what happens is those low temperatures make the salt and sand not effective or much less effective when you have that ice and then it snows on top of that. So they'll get out and they'll hit the major intersections, they'll salt and sand, but a lot of times with those low temperatures, you won't see the impact of that salt and sand until it actually starts warming up a little bit. So if you get calls from constituents, feel free to tell them kind of that's our priority list, but it will always be the main arterials, the collectors, and then the residential streets. And often, usually what happens in our snow events is before we get anywhere close to hitting the residential streets, that's usually when it's a day or two later and the sun comes out and we don't hit those. Also keep in mind, and Bob will go into this much more, some of our streets are in such disrepair that we can't actually put snowplows on them. If you only have an inch or 2 or 3 of snow and then you run those snowplows over the top of them, we end up pulling up some of our streets that are in bad disrepair, let's say in the Heritage area and some of those areas. So they stay away from those streets because of that. So that's just kind of whet your appetite. Bob will go into specifics. But if you ever have any constituents that have questions, or if you do, whether it be during an event or after event, feel free to get a hold of Bob. If you can't reach him, get a hold of me. And we sometimes have dangerous areas. Last I know, we had an issue with the REA road area, which is actually a county road, because it was on a hill and that stayed very slick. So Sylvia came in and let us know about it, and we appreciate that, and feel free to do when you see that. Because as they're out there on their routes, they may have missed it, or we may have to double back and hit that again. So we're always open for any incidents that are going on around the city. Any questions on the snowplow side of things?
Yeah, are there some roads that seem like we should be plowing them, but we are not responsible for plowing them?
Oh, absolutely. So we'll keep repeating it to everyone, but a good example of that, Mayor, is Highway 85. 85, 87, that's a state road. So the state will be responsible for doing that along with Mesa Ridge. I mentioned REA, which is county. A large portion of Charter Oak we don't have responsibility for. So yeah, there is a lot of different roads which aren't our responsibility, but folks don't understand how those jurisdictions work, so they want us out there hitting those, but they won't see our equipment or people out there. Yeah.
Okay, so nothing that CDOT would be responsible for?
Correct.
Or Mesa Ridge Parkway, Highway 85?
Correct.
So when you say a main collector road, you mean like Ohio?
Ohio would
one
be
you
a
would
main,
hit?
yes. A residential collector off of Ohio would be Jimmy Camp. You know, that's the difference between a main arterial and then a residential collector would be those two streets.
Okay, great. All right, so your snow questions go to Todd and Bob.
Bob first.
Bob
but Todd's
first.
always there if you
Okay.
need it, yeah. I'm always
All
in
right.
reserve, yeah. if I
Bob's
need it.
email address is on the city website.
It is.
All right?
Yes. And
Okay.
we may end up with technology one day with actual AVLs in our snowplows so folks can watch them as they're moving around. We're working on that for our buses as well as our snowplows. So we may actually get there one day with the technology.
Wow,
You bet.
amazing. Okay, thank you so much. Troy? You had enough tonight, huh? Chief Heber.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just had a couple of comments. Am I being heard okay? It's kind of in or out. Okay, so thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of things I want to discuss tonight, primarily around a new law that has been, put into legislation. First, I just want to say, we're very proud to live in a very strong county that supports owning and maintaining firearms and gun rights. We live in a city that supports those same goals. I personally, in my private life, been a lifetime gun owner, enthusiast, and support those rights in my personal life 100%. Not all the laws we like that are passed by the Colorado State Legislature, and as we've talked in the past, I encourage people when they run across laws they don't agree with to, number one, be involved in the process, contact your local or state officials, and try and make it better, and always vote. This law that I want to discuss tonight has some attention on it. It's Colorado Revised Statute 18-12-114, Secure Firearm Storage. The intent of this law, if I just put it into really layman terms, so I just want everyone to understand that, none of us want guns to be in the hands of juveniles to take them to school. We crossed that threshold this year in our middle school. None of us want firearms to be illegally in the hands of people that have a criminal record and would use those guns to prey victim to our citizens across the state and in our county and right here. That happens at a higher frequency. None of us would want guns that are not properly secured and left in your car in front of your residence. Many of these vehicles are unlocked at times. And literally hundreds of these guns go missing and are stolen out of our city and the county every year at an alarming rate. This law was passed to say all responsible gun owners, please properly secure reasonably, either in a safe or in a locked type of facility or storage facility that is reasonable, and that's a key word, reasonableness, in order to prevent juveniles or other people that can't possess a weapon from possessing them. It's a misdemeanor, it's charged by a fine. As all the laws that we look at here in Fountain, we apply the law, because I always encourage my cops, and I just want everyone to know, we don't pick and choose which laws we follow or don't. That's a slippery slope, and we follow the law as it's written. We do apply our discretion, we do apply our judgment, and we just want our community and all responsible gun owners to properly secure their firearm. A hypothetical that was brought up recently is, and this was a fair question, say I'm a gun owner and I go to a school or I go to a place where my gun is not allowed to be on the premises. And I take my gun off my person and I lock it in my glove compartment box. I come back out to my car, my vehicle is broken into, they popped my glove compartment box and stole my firearm. That's not going to be cited. It's a reasonable belief that that person tried to reasonably store that firearm, secure it for temporarily being in the place that's, you can't have the firearm, and that would be okay. Where it gets a little touchy is just your car in front of your house. Whether it's locked, we encourage strongly, and this is covered in this law, that you should and must take your firearm out of your car and secure it in your residence in a proper manner. The only other part of the law that was tagged right on the back of this is 113, and if your firearm is stolen, you have a mandatory of five days to report to law enforcement that your firearm was stolen with the best information you have. So hopefully we all have a file, right, with all our receipts and all our gun serial numbers, make and model. If not, a picture with your firearms with your serial number is very helpful, because if you had that stolen, we as law enforcement want to enter that into the criminal database as soon as possible so we can track it, hopefully recover it, and figure out where that weapon goes, and make sure that if it is used in a crime, it doesn't come back to you. So I hope that answered the question on that. That can be a sensitive nature, a sensitive law to people. I've just tried to do my best to explain it in a very, general way, in a way that hopefully people can understand. So are there any questions to that?
No, thank you very much. It's always good when we have something like that's a tough law to understand.
Yes, ma'am.
And yeah, you're right. We may not always agree with everything. The process is to get involved now. Our legislature goes back into session tomorrow. They are going to drop probably between tomorrow and Friday, 125 to 150 bills will be read into the record. So if there's a way to look them up, you can look them up on the state website by subject, by bill number, by whoever's running the bill. If you have a favorite representative or senator, you can look them up by their name and see what they're running and stay on top of things. We make jokes sometimes about some wacky bills, but some of them really can affect our lives very seriously.
Yes, ma'am.
And be very complicated and difficult to understand. If you're going to, we all want responsible gun ownership.
Yes, ma'am.
We want to be able to own it. So
Last
I
comment,
appreciate that.
congratulations to the Georgia Bulldogs, beating Bama last night. Go Dogs. Thank you and good night.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That was a great game.
Great. Is there an officer, if someone had some really specific questions about the law and to make sure they're doing the right thing, because, we're really just trying to educate people, right?
Yeah, we're absolutely. They could contact the police department through our professional standards email. It's on our website. That comes to me. We do have subject matter experts. We're equipped to fill any of those sensitive questions. For example, that hypothetical that I posed that was asked to me. We want to make sure we get people the right answer, that they feel comfortable. And I think general is a general statement. Once you understand the law, we would want to comply with that law anyway. So thank you.
Right. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. IT.
I have nothing this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Could you talk about our new T-coil system a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. I'd love the opportunity to do that. Recently, we've just completed the installation of a system attached to our PA system in the room here, and also at a number of our public service counters throughout the city. For those who are hearing impaired and have hearing aids that have the capability of a T-coil programming mode on them, They have the ability now to come into this room or up to one of our counters, either at customer service, the municipal court, city admin, or the police department. And if they switch their hearing aid into the T-coil mode, they'll be able to hear, in the case of this room, what's going over the PA system directly through their hearing aids. Same thing with the counters. Each counter has a microphone on the other side where our service representatives have those in front of them, and that will help transmit their voice out to where their hearing aids can hear them. So it's an accessibility piece that we've been wanting to do for some time, and I want to thank Rosa, our ADA coordinator, for helping us get to that point and getting the system into our city facilities. And we're hoping to see how that works out moving forward.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys taking the time and doing that. And that's
Thank you.
part of the reason we have new carpet here, right? Because they
Yes,
had to take
give us an excuse to replace a 20-year-old carpet in the process.
got our money's worth out of carpet. All right. Ms. Sylvia, anything from the clerk's office or the parks?
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Nothing tonight. Okay. And you wanted us to come back around?
Excuse me, Mayor. We do have a hand raised from the audience on the web from Frank Herrick.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go ahead and take Mrs. Carrick first. Go ahead. Give us just a second. So she needs to unmute on her end. Ms. Carrick, can you unmute on your end, and you're good to go. You're still muted. Okay, we will come back to that. We're going to go ahead and go back to Todd, and we'll come back to Fran in just a minute and see if she can get it unmuted, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Our last update on the Kane de-annexation process was prior to the holidays, so we wanted to make sure we just kept you all in the loop and took any other questions or comments that you have for us as we move forward. Basically, what has occurred in the last couple of weeks in December and the first week in January, we have held several meetings that were regional meetings. So the county was on those, Colorado Springs. We've held one for transportation, one for drainage. Utilities has held one as well. And we have follow-up meetings planned in the next couple of weeks. The initial meetings were basically to talk about what we felt were the issues and then get input from the other entities on possible solutions and then how we work forward to some actual agreements. So I can tell you they were very well attended. El Paso County had their department heads, of course, that their county commissioners asked to be on there. Some very good feedback. Colorado Springs were well attended from their public works directors, their transportation directors, some engineers, and those type of things. I can't tell you there was great back and forth, as I think for the Colorado Springs folks, they don't know a whole lot about the project. The Amara piece, the Norris Ranch piece, hasn't been annexed yet into the city, and the Kane Ranch is a brand new piece for them. So basically what we did is give you an example on the transportation side. I gave them the things that we've talked about, the questions that have come through, and probably about 10, 15 talking points, all the way down to specifics of, let's say, we're concerned about the traffic that's going to be moving east, west through our city, and major intersection points that we're concerned about. And how are we as a region going to be able to fiscally look at improvements at those areas as the city itself is not going to be able to do that? So Wilson Companies, they have agreed, as they are the individuals that did our master transportation plan update. They also work on county projects as well as Colorado Springs. So Scott Asher, who has been in front of the council before, he has agreed to kind of lead that discussion on a regional perspective. So we have thrown out ideas such as a regional transportation improvement fund, something that, because we're really talking about an area now that's going to have impacts in the county, in Fountain, and what could be Colorado Springs to our east. So I can tell you that I was very happy with the attendance, with the folks that were on there. We had some good department heads. I'll let you know how the next meetings go in terms of back and forth solutions. I do plan on attending the Colorado Springs City Councils when Amara is going to be brought forward, and then of course any discussion on Kane. And I'm going to relay the same concerns with Colorado Springs City Council and kind of explain the processes that we're attempting to do. So that's happening again with transportation, with drainage. The chief and I had one conversation in terms of public safety with the police department that we've already briefed you on. There's really been no change there. We do plan on sitting down with the fire department, but the mayor of Colorado Springs has had some discussions with some of you and with some others, and we don't expect a whole lot of proactive solutions on the public safety side of things. Is that fair, Chief? Correct. But we're going to keep bringing that up as concerns. And then the drainage side of things, we're looking at possible updates in different studies on both the Jimmy Camp Basin as well as the second basin that we have to the south of Kane Ranch. Both of those will come down into Jimmy Camp and they'll ultimately end up in Fountain Creek. So that's a concern for the county as well as us. So there is going to be some future studies on that. But I can't tell you any of those are going to be done prior to this legally coming in front of you in terms of a decision to be made on Kane. So with that, that's kind of the operations update, and I'm going to turn it over to Troy so he can kind of do a legal update for you.
Yeah, and that's a great transition because so the way we stand legally and this process is governed by state law, the kind of the disconnection process, or we call it de-annexation sometimes, is a property owner has to make the request, and then the city will then hear that request. And the reason that we're having these meetings is because the intervening factor is the county that the proposed property would go back into can make a request for meetings, and that's what El Paso County did, and that's the reason we're having the meetings. Well, those meetings can't go on forever, and so eventually the council will have to make a decision in this case. And the only way to de-annex a property or disconnect a property is through ordinance or through court decree. And that's really the two ways to do it. The standard for disconnection by ordinance or through the council legislatively would be a best interests. And so if and when you all are asked to vote on an ordinance for disconnection, that'll be the standard that you'll have to apply. Is this in the best interest of our community, of our city? And then the court would have to apply if like, for example, if you did not vote in favor of that ordinance and it got voted down, they could pursue a court decree, and that court would apply really a different standard. And so the property owner of Kane has wanted to and been pretty cooperative in working with us to try to reach that standard of best interest, I think. And so I think that's what their obviously their preference would be. And so they are working in these meetings and working towards that goal. And we'll be talking with them specifics along the next, as we go through the next couple weeks. But I think their intent to get in front of you, I think they're anxious to actually present to you and give you kind of their side of the story as well. And so they've requested to do that on the 25th. That may change slightly. They may want to move it to February so everybody can be here in person. And they may want to give a presentation. They may want to argue in favor of the ordinance and ask that you vote on it. And so those sort of details are a little up in the air, but that's just the current status, and we'll keep you informed as it goes along, and maybe even next meeting, you may even get to hear from them if they select to. So that's the update on the legal side.
Any questions?
Yeah, any questions?
Yeah, anything we can answer?
No, but I do appreciate you making the comment that the next meeting is hybrid also. We decided to just do them through January. And so that, see if we can get everybody kind of separated a little bit and get this thing slowed down. So, all right, let's go back to Mrs. Carrick and see if she was able to get her microphone unmuted.
Does that work?
There you go. If you could talk a little louder.
Well, I'm screaming now. One thing I'd like to, just real quick, when is the meeting going to be? When is the guy from, or the company from King Ranch coming before city council, please?
Most likely the 25th, so next meeting.
Of this month?
Correct, yes, 25th of January.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
But he said most likely, so double check.
Yeah, well, yeah, because those of us who live out in this area, I would hope that there would be a lot of interest in this. My question is only because it came up at city council. I know that UP is not part of the city. It's its own entity, but it came up at city council, what they were doing and asking for donations.
Fran, we didn't catch what you said came up at city council. What came up?
UP, Ultimate Parties.
Fountain Up.
Yes.
Okay, I got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, what was the upshot of all of that? How did it work out for the organization? We haven't heard anything.
Are you talking about the Christmas party that they had? Is that what you're asking about?
Magic on Main Street or Miracle on Main Street?
Right. Okay, Sylvia?
Yes. Hi, Fran. So
Hi.
Fountain Up did have two events. We had the Nightmare on Main Street, and then we had the Miracle on Main Street. And luckily, fortunately for us, it was every penny that we made was all revenue. Everybody that's within that group has donated money, time, or things to be sold. I want to say after payments were made to Peaks and Pines for their contribution or selling of alcohol to Fountain Up, we are right around $2,500 right now in our account to be able to go forward with more projects.
Great. I like it. Okay, thank you.
Was that it?
That's it.
All right, thank you. I still want to cut you off because it's hard to tell.
Yeah, great.
All right, have a good evening. Okay. All right, council member announcements. We'll start with Ms. Duncan.
Happy New Year to everyone. I haven't said that already. I met an employee out in the parking lot, and I felt like I had already been to council before because I've been to so many meetings. So just saying Happy New Year to everyone. I want to say first my prayers to the families that were involved in the horrific fire in New York City. I just left Philadelphia and sitting on the train and listening to the horrific details of what happened. My heart goes out. So I don't know if any families are here in Fountain, but I just want you to know that my prayers are with you. There are a lot of events coming up this week. Tomorrow, Wednesday, PPCAG. There is a note on January 24th at 9 a.m. is the Federal Infrastructure Workshop. That's transportation, and I encourage every one of our citizens to go online and, save the date for that information. Really good information is going to come out of that. As we have heard, the state legislature is starting back in session, and I am grateful for the diligence of our city manager, Scott, and our city attorney, Troy, who has spent a lot of time last year. We have looked over those bills that are coming out and encourage these meetings to continue on this year. And I'm focused on staying away from unfunded mandates that are coming from the state. So if they're going to mandate us to do stuff, then they need to pay for it. I'm looking for the great State of the State on Thursday. I see that I have my e-ticket, and I'm grateful and ready to hear what's going on in that. I heard there's going to be really good reports. I'd also like to say Chief, the Lieutenant Cristianti, I want to make sure I'm saying his name right, The promotion to commander, well-deserved. He is a great leader. There are a lot of MLK events that are happening this weekend, so if you have time, so please take part in any of those events. Fountain Youth Council. We are collecting new coats and hats for kids. We have 3 drop-off locations. One is at the city building, downstairs, 116 South Main Street, and on Fountain Utilities, 101 South Main, and the Fountain Police Department. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Applegate.
I got nothing tonight.
Mayor Pro Tem Estes.
Nothing tonight.
Councilmember Hinton.
Nothing tonight.
Councilmember Corey.
Nothing tonight.
All right. Oh, thank you. Councilmember Rick.
Yes, thank you. Just to dovetail on what Todd talked about with the streets, I also spoke to Bob McDonald. Some of the streets we're also not going to be able to plow are those streets where we don't have a good base and the road isn't level. The example I'll use is Creek Front over in Cross Creek. It really dips up and down, and if you were trying to take a snowplow through there, you'd probably tear up about every 10 or 15 feet. You'd tear up some asphalt because it's not level enough for us to plow. So I appreciate and look forward to Mr. McDonald's presentation. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Can't plow streets that are full of cars either. So if a cul-de-sac that's really packed. All right. I would just like to say my heart just goes out to the community of Boulder and that area up there with the horrendous fires that they had. I know multiple agencies responded there and assisted. But I would once again encourage people to just be cautious about if you get calls for money and different things. We all get spam calls all the time. I got one from Colorado Springs Fire Department a few weeks ago asking for money, and no. Especially when you don't have a local area code. That doesn't help your case to get somebody to answer the phone. But just be careful because there's going to be people online and collecting things and this and that. And one of the things that always happens during a disaster, I want to help, they get overloaded. They don't literally have enough places sometimes to put stuff that they get donated. So find an organization, sometimes just a few extra dollars to something, a quality one like Salvation Army, Red Cross, Care and Share's probably up there. Do you know any others that are up there, Chief Heber?
No, those would be some of the main ones, Madam Mayor. Always, you check with your local fire department, police department if you have any questions on scams. I agree with the scam things. We too are sending a truckload of toys and clothes up to Boulder to support some families, police officer families that got wiped out by it. So I echo your comment and do your homework on a good agency, and we can help if needed.
Right. Okay. All right. So unless anybody has anything else, we are done, and I'm impressed you young ladies made it through the whole meeting. Very good. Thank you. We're adjourned.